General Hospital spoilers for Tuesday, August 5th reveal that Michael Corinthos is at a psychological crossroads, and beneath his composed exterior lies a man unraveling, quietly, methodically, and obsessively, as he attempts to respond to the growing emotional and practical demands of Willow, and the future she now envisions for their children, Wiley and Amelia. 4 months. And a fresh start for their children. Michael finds himself spiraling into an identity crisis masked as noble intention. What is unfolding is not simply the stress of fatherhood or marital compromise. Her near-death experience rewired her understanding of life and motherhood. She no longer desires the prestige of Corinthos tradition or the illusions of power tied to wealth and legacy. Instead, she wants simplicity and safety, and more than anything, she wants Wiley and Amelia to grow up free from the manipulative shadows that have long loomed over the Corinthos name. She sees a future where her children can define themselves without being used as pawns or protectors in someone else's war. But Michael, instead of hearing Willow's dreams as a plea for harmony, receives them as accusations, as rejections of everything he's built. His ego, once solid and measured, is now cracking beneath the weight of expectations that were never spoken aloud but are now impossible to ignore. Michael's response is not rooted in healthy dialogue. He isn't asking Willow what she needs, he's racing ahead of her words, trying to construct a world where he can force her vision into existence, but on his terms. It is not compromise, it is containment. He becomes increasingly consumed with schooling options for Wiley, scrutinizing the smallest behavioral signs in Amelia, controlling who interacts with his children, curating every inch of their daily lives to match some imagined perfection that he believes will keep Willow satisfied. But in truth, these actions are not for Willow, not for the children, they are for himself. Michael is terrified of failure. Terrified of being the weak link. Terrified that Willow's dreams do not include him at all. This fear manifests as obsession. He begins researching parenting strategies late into the night, revisiting past mistakes and questioning every choice he ever made as a father. He second-guesses Willow's instincts, even as he claims to support them. He overcompensates with performative attentiveness, spending hours with Wiley not out of joy, but out of fear that if he blinks, he'll lose him. He micromanages household routines, inserts himself into Willow's decision-making, and insists on controlling future plans. His once calm demeanor becomes unpredictable, his conversations with Willow more transactional than emotional. She asks for understanding, he offers solutions. She asks for empathy, he counters with strategy. The more she pleads for space, the more he tightens his grip. Those closest to Michael begin to notice the shift. Carly senses the tension in his voice, the defensiveness in his tone, but when she inquires, he dismisses her. Dante tries to reach out, to ask how he's holding up, but Michael offers canned responses, unwilling to expose the cracks. Even Brooke Lynn, who has seen Michael's intensity before, is disturbed by his sudden preoccupation with perfection. But no one intervenes, not yet. Because Michael, outwardly, still functions. He still shows up, still performs, still smiles when expected. But inside, he is consumed by a growing obsession with creating a version of life that will not betray him, a future that cannot be taken away. He sees Wiley and Amelia not just as children to love, but as symbols of stability, as proof that he can build something immune to chaos. And that belief is both his motivation and his undoing. The tragedy in all of this is that Willow does not want perfection. She wants presence. She wants a husband who listens, not a strategist who anticipates. She wants a father to her children who can sit in the mess of life with them, not one who frantically cleans around them. But Michael no longer hears her. Her voice has become part of the pressure. Her dreams, once a shared hope, have now become threats to the fragile world he's trying to preserve. And so, rather than evolving with Willow, Michael is breaking against her. He is building a fortress when she's asking for a bridge. The more Willow pulls away emotionally, the more Michael panics. He becomes paranoid. Does she still love him? Is she reconsidering the life they built? Does she resent him for the Corinthos blood that runs through Wiley's veins? These thoughts do not stay thoughts, they become fuel. Fuel for control. Fuel for manipulation disguised as protection. And the darker realization is this: Michael is losing touch with what's real. He can no longer distinguish between what Willow wants and what he believes she should want. His vision is distorted by obsession. And that distortion is creating a new kind of emotional danger for everyone involved. If left unaddressed, this obsession will not end with Michael's internal turmoil. It will spread into his parenting, his relationship, his decisions at ELQ, and his influence on those around him. It will push Willow away, not bring her closer. It will teach Wiley fear instead of resilience. It will rob Amelia of joy and spontaneity. And worst of all, it will destroy Michael himself. Because beneath the layers of responsibility and ambition is a man who simply wants to be loved, to be enough. But instead of asking for that love directly, he is trying to engineer it. And love, once engineered, ceases to be love at all, it becomes possession. This is the madness now taking root. Not in grand outbursts or villainous acts, but in the quiet desperation of a man who once had everything and is now terrified he cannot hold on to any of it. Michael Corinthos is no longer just a conflicted heir or a protective father. He is a man drifting into emotional oblivion, and unless someone stops him, unless Willow's voice finally breaks through the noise, this obsession may become irreversible. Because dreams cannot be controlled. Families cannot be programmed. And the more Michael tries to perfect his world, the more he may lose it all. Sidwell wants nothing more than to derail Tracy. Every move he makes, every word he speaks, every calculated silence is part of a deeper, more disturbing obsession that has begun to define his presence in Port Charles. On the surface, Sidwell operates like a shadow, a man who lingers just outside the spotlight. Never overtly threatening, never publicly aggressive, but his true motivations are far more sinister. His fixation on Tracy is not a passing grudge or mere professional rivalry, it is an all-consuming compulsion. The kind of psychological grip that distorts reality and justifies any level of manipulation. Sidwell has set his sights on Tracy not just as an adversary, but as a symbol of everything he cannot control, and in that lack of control, a dangerous new obsession has been born. The latest adjustments to General Hospital's narrative arc have placed Sidwell on a collision course with the Quartermain legacy, and his plans for Tracy are nothing short of destructive. He's begun orchestrating a psychological war, subtle, persistent, and designed to destabilize her from within. And as these manipulations unfold, it becomes clear. Sidwell isn't trying to beat Tracy at a game. He's trying to rewrite the entire board. What's most terrifying is how methodically he's begun to unravel her. He studies her alliances, pokes holes in her relationships, introduces doubt into her professional networks, and begins manipulating the narrative around her leadership at ELQ. He doesn't confront, he whispers. He doesn't attack, he corrodes. His obsession is not loud or theatrical. It is clinical. Sidwell sees Tracy's downfall not as a possibility, but as a requirement, an endgame that must be achieved to satisfy something twisted within him. And the closer he gets to dismantling her power, the more euphoric, almost delusional, he becomes. It's not just revenge. It's personal gratification. It's control reasserted through the destruction of a woman he believes has taken something from him: respect, opportunity, identity. Tracy, for her part, is not oblivious. She senses the shift. She notices the moves being made just beyond her periphery, the partners growing distant, the press coverage becoming suspiciously biased. The financial anomalies that seem engineered to implode just beneath her control. At first, she attributes it to natural corporate attrition or political maneuvering. But now, she's starting to understand the truth. This is not about business. This is about her. About the version of herself that Sidwell has locked into his mind. And that realization is as dangerous as it is maddening, because she's fighting not against an enemy with goals, but against a man who has made her destruction his goal. This is one of the darkest adjustments General Hospital has made in recent months, and it signals a thematic shift into psychological obsession, legacy corruption, and power as possession. Sidwell's obsession with Tracy is not just disrupting her world, it is consuming his. He's no longer rational, no longer even pretending to operate within the rules. He's rewriting his own justification, telling himself that Tracy deserves this, that she has brought this upon herself, that history must be corrected. And in that self-justification lies the madness. The obsession has become its own entity, dictating his actions, distorting his moral framework, and blinding him to the damage he's doing, not only to Tracy, but to the entire ecosystem surrounding them both. What Sidwell doesn't yet understand is that Tracy has survived worse. But this time, it's not the external threat she fears, it's the invisible poison. The obsession that seeps into every interaction, turns every ally into a potential traitor, every decision into a trap. Sidwell's campaign against her isn't simply a power play. It's psychological warfare. And the most terrifying part is that, in his eyes, her destruction is not optional. It is destiny. This adjustment to the narrative doesn't just elevate Sidwell's role, it reframes the entire dynamic between obsession and legacy in Port Charles. It forces characters like Ned, Brooklyn, and even outsiders like Valentine to reconsider their own relationships with power. If a man like Sidwell can embed himself into the framework of ELQ and use that position to pursue a vendetta this personal, what's stopping others? What if Sidwell's obsession isn't unique, but the first in a wave of quiet madness creeping across town? The truth is, obsession rarely announces itself. It creeps in. And by the time you notice it, it's already dictating everything. That's what Tracy is up against now, not a man with a plan, but a man who is the plan, a man for whom every breath is a move toward her annihilation. And until someone recognizes that Sidwell's war is personal, not political, General Hospital is on the brink of watching one of its greatest characters fall, not from scandal, not from betrayal, but from obsession made manifest. Lucas Jones is no longer the passive observer in the Corinthos family dynamic. What was once quiet discomfort has now evolved into a full-fledged internal reckoning. And as Sonny continues to entangle himself deeper in a dangerous, clandestine relationship with Marco, Lucas finds himself standing at the edge of a line he never expected to cross, defying Carly, questioning the very moral foundation of his family, and rejecting the narrative that loyalty must come at the cost of truth. The recent behavioral shifts from Sonny, his increasing secrecy, his emotional volatility, his refusal to offer transparent explanations for his association with a man as volatile as Marco, have unsettled Lucas to the point where concern has transformed into obsession. And now, Lucas is carrying a new psychological weight, one that isn't just about uncovering Sonny's latest activities, but about confronting a system of power and silence that has long dictated the Corinthos family's survival. The pressure Lucas is under isn't simply external, it's emotional, deeply personal, and rooted in the knowledge that his voice has often been dismissed under the guise of protection. Carly, the one person who could once bridge gaps and soothe tension, has now become a gatekeeper of that silence. Instead of supporting Lucas in his questions or validating his need for clarity, Carly has begun to exert increasing control over the narrative, insisting that Sonny knows what he's doing, that Marco is just a temporary arrangement, that none of this is Lucas's concern. But Lucas knows better. He sees through the thin excuses and vague justifications. He watches the way Carly deflects and redirects conversations. How she treats his inquiries not as expressions of legitimate worry, but as disloyal provocations. And this pattern, this constant shutting down of truth in favor of loyalty, has begun to break something inside him. What makes this current chapter so explosive is that Lucas's obsession isn't rooted in vengeance or hatred, but in a desire to protect what's left of his own moral center. He's not seeking power or revenge. He's seeking a reality in which his family can no longer justify dangerous relationships under the guise of legacy and protection. Marco is not just a shady associate. He's a man with a violent past, connections to hidden financial schemes, and an eerie ability to manipulate Sonny's judgment. And Sonny, once a symbol of flawed but grounded strength in Lucas's eyes, has now become erratic, emotionally inconsistent, and increasingly unreachable. Lucas has begun keeping track of late-night meetings, of whispered phone calls, of money transfers he believes may be hidden under shell accounts. This is no longer about curiosity. It's about proving that Sonny is no longer capable of separating right from wrong, and that Carly is enabling that collapse in the name of family unity. What Lucas is also beginning to realize is that he may be the only person left willing to speak the truth, no matter the consequences. Brooklyn is too politically entangled. Michael is too afraid of splitting the family. Christina is in denial. And Carly? Carly is too invested in protecting the image of Sonny, the illusion of the father, protector, and patriarch, even as that image disintegrates. And so, Lucas finds himself alone, but not paralyzed. Instead, he begins to act. He starts discreetly reaching out to contacts from his days in medicine, law enforcement, and even the press. He collects evidence, listens for inconsistencies, documents everything. It's not about exposure for exposure's sake. It's about building something that cannot be denied, a picture of Sonny's descent that no amount of Corinthos' charm or Carly's damage control can spin. But this also takes a toll on Lucas. His relationship with Carly becomes strained to the point of breaking. She accuses him of betrayal, of dramatizing the situation, of putting the children, Wiley especially, at risk by bringing external forces into their private world. Lucas, in turn, accuses Carly of putting everyone at risk by prioritizing Sonny's unchecked behavior over transparency. Their confrontations grow sharper, more painful, and laden with years of unspoken resentment. Lucas sees Carly not just as an enabler, but as someone who has always demanded silence in the name of survival. And now, he's done being silent. This shift in Lucas, this emotional adjustment, is not just character development. It is narrative transformation. For years, Lucas has been defined by caution, by reason, by quietly observing the chaos around him while doing his best to stay on the margins. But now, the margins are on fire, and Lucas is stepping into the flames. What he's uncovering about Sonny and Marco is not just troubling, it's catastrophic. Evidence of laundering, of backdoor deals involving medical shipments, of possible collusion with offshore entities that could put not only Sonny but the entire Corinthos network in federal crosshairs. And the worst part? Carly knows. Or if she doesn't, she chooses not to know. And that makes her just as culpable. Lucas's internal obsession now becomes a public danger. The closer he gets to exposing Sonny, the more danger he puts himself in. There are warnings, anonymous messages, attempts to hack his files, even a break-in at his apartment that leaves no physical evidence but an unmistakable message, back off. But Lucas doesn't. He can't. Because now it's not just about Sonny and Marco. It's about the psychological war being waged through silence, and the damage it's doing to every single person tied to it. He sees what this is doing to Carly, how she's unraveling behind her composure. He sees how Wiley is being raised in an environment of half-truths and controlled perception. He sees how Sonny's obsession with Marco isn't partnership, it's dependency. And dependency this dangerous never ends quietly. Lucas is no longer the quiet moral compass. He is the disruption. The one character willing to risk everything, his relationship with Carly, his safety, his peace of mind, to prevent the family from spiraling further into the abyss. His obsession with the truth is not madness. It is a reaction to the madness that everyone else is pretending doesn't exist. And as General Hospital continues to embrace darker, more psychologically complex storylines, Lucas's role is now central. He is the lens through which the audience will see the cost of denial, the price of loyalty, and the tragedy of silence. This is no longer about Sonny alone. It is about the systemic rot of power and protectionism. It is about what happens when obsession turns into identity. It is about how far a family will go to preserve a name, even if it means losing everything underneath it. Lucas knows this now. And he's preparing for the reckoning, because he understands what no one else is willing to admit. The Corinthos legacy isn't crumbling. It's already fallen. And Lucas might be the only one brave enough to say it out loud. Jason has never been a man of many words, but in a rare moment of vulnerability, he finds himself confiding in Sunny about something he has been holding onto in silence. He saw Britt. Not a dream. Not a memory. Not a hallucination. Jason, hardened by years of loss and emotional suppression, looks Sunny in the eye and says it plainly, "I saw her." This single statement sends shockwaves not only through Sunny, but through the entire framework of trust, memory, and grief that has long defined Jason's post-Britt world. And in that revelation, something shifts. A door opens. Because if Jason is right, if Britt is alive, then everything is about to change, and Jason knows exactly where he has to go: Croatia. This isn't just about longing or closure anymore. This is about a possibility so overwhelming that even Jason, a man defined by logic and discipline, can no longer ignore it. He tells Sunny about the woman he saw in a quiet alleyway in Marseille while following a lead unrelated to Britt. She turned her face just enough. The way she walked. He sees something in Jason's expression that he hasn't seen in years, hope laced with obsession. Jason is not asking permission. He's sharing a truth that has already taken root in his soul. And Sunny, who has seen the impossible become real time and time again in Port Charles, knows better than to dismiss it. But this time, the stakes are different. Sunny knows that if Jason is going to find answers, if Britt is truly alive, the journey won't be safe, and it won't be simple. And that's why Sunny doesn't just listen, he quietly begins to offer his support. Through his contacts in Eastern Europe, Sunny starts moving pieces. He quietly shifts resources. Secures a safe house near Dubrovnik, taps into a dormant network once used during the Cassadine Wars. Because if Britt is alive, Croatia is the key. Rumors of medical research facilities hidden deep within the Balkans, tied to WSB experiments and off-the-books resurrection programs, begin to surface. And with those rumors come names, doctors who once worked with Liesel Albrecht, now supposedly in hiding. It all connects. It always does. But no one except Jason could have put it together. No one else would have felt it in their bones. Jason knows that this journey isn't just about finding Britt, it's about reclaiming a part of himself that died when she disappeared. He never had closure. He buried her memory, honored her legacy, but he never stopped feeling like something didn't add up. The details of her death, the inconsistencies in the timeline. The way Liesel had gone silent too quickly, it never sat right with him. Now, with Sunny's reluctant blessing and support, Jason prepares to head to Croatia not just as a man in mourning, but as a hunter of truth. And this time, he won't stop until he finds her. As preparations begin, Sunny's involvement deepens, not because he believes blindly, but because he knows what Jason has lost. He knows the pain of not knowing. He's seen what that pain can do to a man. He arranges for encrypted communications, dispatches Britt to monitor WSB movement in the region, and quietly warns Carly to keep an eye on Port Charles while Jason is gone. Because if Britt is alive, she's being kept that way for a reason, and whoever's behind it won't want Jason interfering. Jason's mission to Croatia becomes more than a personal journey. It becomes a symbol, a ripple across the canvas of General Hospital that promises to uncover forgotten truths, hidden betrayals, and perhaps, a redemption arc no one saw coming. For Jason, it's about love lost, yes, but it's also about restoring something broken. And Sunny, in offering his support, is proving that no matter the risks, no matter the ghosts, some loyalties never fade. And so, as Jason prepares to leave, one truth stands above the rest: if Britt is out there, Jason will find her. And with Sunny's quiet support behind him, nothing, not WSB interference, not danger, not even death, will stop him. Because sometimes, love isn't about what you've lost. It's about what you're still willing to fight for. Willow is no longer content with silence, avoidance, or passive distance. After months of resentment, grief, and emotional detachment, she has reached a crossroads where the weight of her past decisions is no longer bearable. She wants redemption. And in a shocking turn that no one in Port Charles expected, perhaps not even Willow herself, she is now openly seeking forgiveness from the very woman she once rejected with unyielding finality. Nina Reeves. This decision is not a calculated gesture. It is a soul-deep reckoning, and it has triggered one of the most emotionally volatile explosions in recent memory. Thrusting Nina into a state of emotional chaos so powerful it could rewrite the dynamics of every relationship she has left. For so long, Willow held Nina at arm's length, cold, suspicious, and guarded. Even after the truth of their mother-daughter connection came to light, she refused to allow Nina into her world. Illness, grief, and betrayal built a wall between them that seemed impenetrable. But now, something in Willow has shifted. Maybe it's motherhood, maybe it's exhaustion. Maybe it's the crushing realization that holding on to hatred has made her no stronger, only lonelier. Whatever the reason, Willow is choosing a new path, a path of atonement, of healing, of opening the door she once slammed shut. But this isn't a quiet reconciliation. This is an emotional earthquake. Because in seeking forgiveness, Willow has also inadvertently unleashed a storm inside Nina, a woman long tormented by rejection, loss, and a desperate need to be loved. Willow's confession, that she regrets how she treated Nina, that she may have misjudged her, that she wants to start over, is not just a gesture of healing. It is a bombshell. For Nina, it detonates every suppressed feeling she has tried to bury. The pain of being an outcast, the shame of past mistakes, the fury of being punished without end. And now, with Willow's sudden emotional reversal, Nina's world begins to fracture. Because everything she thought she understood about her relationship with her daughter is suddenly being rewritten. The bitterness she wore like armor starts to collapse, revealing the raw, unpredictable, and unhealed layers beneath. And those layers are dangerous, to herself, and to everyone around her. This shocking turn in Willow's behavior doesn't just destabilize Nina, it sends ripples through every corner of Port Charles. Michael is blindsided. Carly is furious. Sunny is confused. Because for months, everyone rallied behind Willow's pain, using it to justify Nina's exclusion. But now, that center of certainty is gone. Willow's decision to seek peace with Nina doesn't just affect their relationship, it redefines every alliance built in the wake of their feud. Michael, who once vowed never to forgive Nina. The power balance is shifting, and Nina, long the villain, is now on the verge of emotional vindication. Or complete breakdown. Because the truth is, Nina isn't ready for this. She wanted forgiveness. Yes, but now that it's being offered, she doesn't know how to receive it. Her identity has been built around loss, around being pushed away. Redemption was always a dream, but facing it in real time has turned it into a nightmare. Her emotions are chaotic. She lashes out, then recoils. She embraces Willow, then questions her sincerity. To prove that she is worthy of this second chance, even if it means forcing it into existence. What Willow thought would be a healing gesture has now sparked a psychological firestorm. Demanding inclusion in Wiley and Amelia's lives, confronting Carly and Michael in ways that suggest she still doesn't fully understand how to earn trust rather than demand it. Meanwhile, Willow is caught in the center of the fallout. Her choice to apologize was genuine, but now she realizes that redemption is not clean. It's messy, complicated, and sometimes the people you're trying to heal with are still too broken to receive it. Willow must now navigate the consequences of her emotional risk, a Nina who is spiraling between joy and vengeance. A Michael who no longer trusts her instincts, a Carly who feels betrayed, and a Sunny who is silently watching everything fall apart. This is not just a mother-daughter reunion. This is an emotional reckoning. One that is reshaping the narrative arc of every character tied to this fractured family. Willow's quest to make amends has opened a door that can never be closed.